Hey folks, Myron from the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast here. Today I am joined by the Continental Lover, Eddy Mansfield. How are you doing today, Mr. Mansfield?
Hey, Myron, I'm doing wonderful. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. It's been a pretty good day for me. You have burst back onto the scene in the wrestling psychology now. People are talking about all the stuff that happened back in the old days after the Dark Side of the Ring special. Now, how did you like doing that?
Well, what about Viceland just doing it?
Yes, sir.
It was fine. I wish they would have left a little bit more, of me in there than put me on the cutting room floor.
Yes,
and
sir.
Listen to some motor mouth that didn't even really mean anything to the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I really got into the reason, and we'll get into this today. The reason I did 2020 and why I did 2020. It has not changed since I did it in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I did it to get benefits for the guys, and it still hasn't happened. And how you can have a public company and 1099 guys, I have no idea. Because with the WWE, Myron, you cannot work with anybody else but them. So in other words, you're employed.
You're an exclusive contractor for them.
Exactly.
And it wouldn't work in any other business. And that's one thing about the wrestling business is people, they treat it like a business when it's convenient to them, and they treat it like it's a carny thing when it's not. So
exactly.
It doesn't work out for them. And I think watching the whole Dark Side of the Ring, and then I actually went back and watched the 2020 segment, the whole thing, last night to study over it. I think Stossel missed out on what you were trying to say. He, for lack of a better way to put it, he was getting himself over.
Well, it was an ego-driven piece instead of what the deal was for me to do it. Mm-hmm. And as a former professional wrestler, I was a professional athlete as a wrestler.
Yes, sir.
And each one of the guys and girls that you see in professional wrestling today are professional athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to compare a $1 billion industry, and as you know, as everybody knows, Fox is paying Vince McMahon $1 billion. That's just one network. That doesn't count USA Network, or what TNT's paying AEW. But I'll get into all that in a little bit. But it was an ego-driven piece. He wanted to get himself over, like you said, and he did. Mm-hmm. He got slapped because I told him not to interview David Shultz, and he would get slapped. And he did it, but he did anyway. Mm-hmm. And it didn't do he didn't do the business justice. Because if you think that's cool, slapping a reporter and knocking him around and trying to prove that the business was real, that's just not right. Because, hey, I've always said about wrestling, it's predetermined. Mm-hmm. The bumps are real. Everything that you see in the ring is real, but it's predetermined. You're told who's going to win, who's going to lose, and I'm the guy that made Vince McMahon tap out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In other words, he made it that Eddy Mansfield was telling the truth.
Yes, and I don't think people have compared that enough. The fact you did what you did for the good of the wrestlers, and Vince did what he did for his own personal financial benefit.
Absolutely. And so when you get down to it, it all comes back to greed. Mm-hmm. And the wrestling business is greedy.
Yes.
And a lot of guys that take a little extra money to turn their back on the other guys. See, that's the way they've kept it down as more of and that's when I used the phrase, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, but he forgot to free the professional wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And some people can't seem to understand that. Well, let me explain it to all you people who don't understand English. Well, bottom line is this. This is still being run like a sweatshop and a slave business.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, I'll give you two examples. Kamala.
Oh, yes.
He lost a W amputee. How come Vince McMahon with billions of dollars can't get him prosthetics and get him standing up like he was when he drew him all that money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to just another fellow Georgian, Marty Jannetty.
Yes.
Okay, his ankles are rubbing together. They're just almost in. I mean, it's sad to see. That's just two. That's just two.
I've seen Jannetty at a couple shows recently, and he did not look to be in good shape.
Exactly, and he's not. I mean, his ankles need surgery, and they need to be fixed. But you can open up a wellness center to send guys have a drinking problem 18 times for one guy, but you deny everybody else.
Yes. Well, I mean, if we
look
at Jannetty, okay, as just an example,
right?
How is he going to make money to purchase insurance now?
Oh, he's not, because I'm going to give you an example. He said, I talked to Marty 2 days ago, and Marty told me, hey, me and Sean sold $1 million a quarter in merchandise and stuff. He said, you know how much I got? He said, I got less than $3,000.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I mean, that's just highway robbery.
Yes.
I mean, so in other words, you know, all these, you got some guys, you probably got 1% of the guys that'll tell you, oh, well, I prepared myself. Oh, I knew I was in a 1099 business and such a thing. They full of crap. I mean, they're just kissing butt, you know, get the chapstick out, but that's fine. If you prepared yourself, fine. 99% didn't.
No. And they took bumps to the head, and they've got
they did
concussions, and so maybe their judgment was altered, that they couldn't prepare adequately.
Well, you know, you're in the medical business, and I can tell you one thing, that all these chair shots, you know, that I took and other people took, let me tell you something, it has a toll on you, you know, and I say this, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but they did me a favor when they got me out of the wrestling business. They probably saved my life.
Oh, wow. Because you were blackballed after that, pretty much.
Oh,
right?
I was blackballed before I did 2020. I told that Ole Anderson, I said, let me tell you something. I'm not going to kick any money back to you. And he said, right in front of Wahoo McDaniel, that's when I was drawing all that money, me and Scott Casey in Texas, selling out everywhere. We were flying into Atlanta to help it at Georgia. You know, every time Ole came into Georgia, it bombed because he's a lousy booker, and so he wanted me to kick back 20%, and he was going to book me all over the country. Well, I was all over the country now. Me and Wahoo McDaniel were the first two guys on national syndicated shows on one weekend. We're on 605 on Saturday night with Georgia Championship Wrestling, and then the following morning on USA Network with Southwest Championship Wrestling.
Wow.
And that's just that's a little story that a lot of people don't even know. And but I can tell you, if Wahoo was living, he would tell you the same thing. He told Ole to leave me alone, but he didn't. He said, I'll finish him up. And I said, well, if you finish him up, if you finish me up and you take bread off of my table and I can't eat, I said, I'm going to go nationwide and tell them what is going on. This is a sweatshop.
Now that 20% was in like an accepted fee at the time for people?
Well, they were somewhere. They had 8 or 9 guys in Atlanta at the time kicking back money to Ole.
Wow.
And I wasn't going to do it because I was in Southwest Championship Wrestling making a lot of money.
And that he was not over that.
Yeah, and he had nothing. He wasn't going to take my money. Nobody was going to take my money. I got stabbed 7 times, and let me tell you something: 7 different occasions.
Wow.
And I paid every damn time to get sewed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now I read.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I read when you were in Texas, or you were in California, you got really bad sick, and you had to keep working, right?
Oh yeah, I got they had the Russian flu. Remember the Russian flu?
Mm-hmm.
I got that, and I had to keep working. I lost 30 pounds, and me and Bad Leroy Brown were tagging, and also I had him as a single guy, and me as a single, right? And then I had the Twin Devils as well. I was in 4 matches each night.
Oh wow!
You know, and so it was like the Eddy Mansfield show. And Roddy Piper passed the torch to me, and he says, Eddie, he says, let me tell you something. Get ready. You're gonna work like you have never worked before. They're gonna just about literally kill you. And he says, and he was right, and they almost did. You know, and Leroy Brown, God bless him, man. You know, he was a good soul. And Leroy, we were coming back from Ventura. I'll never forget. I was so weak, man. I could hardly stand on the apron. And so, and Leroy, he stopped at a Safeway. You know, that's a big store out in California, you know, Safeways. And he went in there and bought me a blanket. And this, you know, California is not that, you know, it doesn't get that cold, really. You know, at night it's nice, but he put the air conditioner on, and I laid in the back, and I mean not the air conditioner, the heater, and he was sweating. I'll never forget his bald head sweating, and here I am, I'm shaking like a leaf, and he took me to Doc Schwartz every morning to get a shot, and Doc Schwartz finally told Leo Garibaldi, and Mike LaBelle, you can't work this guy anymore. You're gonna kill him.
Wow.
True story.
Oh, I don't doubt
that. That's how much they didn't get. They didn't give a hoot for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Ron Fuller came to ask me to come leave L.A. and come back to Knoxville to help him save his territory and team me up with David again, because you know, Bob Roop and Orton and all them guys.
Malenko.
You've probably seen. Yeah, they were
the
trying
Knoxville 5. Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to steal the territory. And so we went in there, and we were probably the last crew to draw money in Knoxville.
Yeah.
I mean, because, we sold out everywhere. And in Knoxville and Pensacola. And I always laugh. I always laugh to this day. I'm probably the only guy in the history of professional wrestling to be a Rookie of the Year 2 years in a row. So you know it's a damn work. It's come on, man. Yeah, because I come out of baseball and I'm looking at him. How in the hell? I ask him, how in the hell can I be Rookie of the Year 2 times in a row? Mm-hmm. And they looked at me and they said, just enjoy it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's
right. No, that was their answer. That was the answer. Just enjoy it. Oh, okay, fine. What am I enjoying? You know, like, hey.
The whole thing was
I was in Pensacola with Gordon Soley, right?
Oh wow!
And I was Rookie of the Year, right? Southeastern Championship Wrestling, and then I was in Knoxville. Les Thatcher was a commentator, and I was Rookie of the Year there. and I'm going like, damn, okay.
Now
you know what hey Myron, you know what that NWA stands for, don't you?
What's that?
No wealth allowed.
Ooh, yeah.
You have to remember that one.
They ran everything at the time too. I mean,
it was a monopoly. It was a damn monopoly, 35 territories. And it was a big monopoly. And that's why they see, Kayfabe was in the South.
Mm-hmm.
More, we didn't have Kayfabe in Los Angeles or in New York.
Okay.
And so it was all in the southern states. They wanted to keep the thumb on all the guys, and they did. And so it was real funny because when I was in Los Angeles, our TV went into New York. I was over like a big dog in New York, and I worked with all the New York guys that came to Los Angeles, like Pedro Morales and, you know, Victor Rivera and, you know, guys like that, you know. And then Johnny Rods came out and was a partner with me, and he used the name Javarook. And so it's a little history there with SoCal wrestling. And the Olympic Auditorium, I'll never forget it. Richmond 95171. If you ever see a Olympic sign, you know, in the Olympic, it's Richmond 95171. And that ring, Myron, was 24 by 24.
Wow.
So help me God, if you shoot a guy off, if you fire a guy off into the ropes, you got to follow him or you'll be standing in the middle of the ring waiting on him to come back. So,
wow.
So, yeah, you know, it's like when we did that, me and Tatsumi Fujinami, we did an hour Broadway. It was sent over to Tokyo, and then we did another one where he beat me, you know, right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Tatsumi was a really good worker. Tatsumi Fujinami, really good. And you know, I had wars with Chavo, the late, you know, Chavo Guerrero. And my buddy Red Shoes Dugan was a referee. You probably remember him from Rocky III.
Okay, yes, sir. Uh-huh.
And Jimmy Lennon from the Lennon Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
He was our ring announcer.
Wow.
You know, he used to announce me, you know, from around the world, like butter on toast, the one and the only, the Continental Lover. You know, it's like, I mean, he had a little swagger to him, and which is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved LA. Mm-hmm. I should have never left.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved living in Santa Monica. You know, Joe Gold and myself used to play volleyball against Chuck Barris. And what's the other guy's name? It'll come to me. But anyway, we used to do that every morning. I mean, because the trips were short, you know. Mm-hmm. Then I'd fly up and work for Roy Shire, up do the Cow Palace, and we'd draw 15,000, you know, every time the cow opened, you know. Mm-hmm. So, you know, SoCal and NorCal was good for me. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Southwest Championship Wrestling is one of the best that I could ever think about. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
It was like Scott Casey and myself. We blew the roof off that sucker. Mm-hmm. I mean, we drew the largest crowd in San Antonio wrestling history. We held that for 11 years until they built the Alamo Dome.
Wow.
And then the guy that broke my record that Jose Lothario told him to watch me, how I got over, was a guy by the name of Shawn Michaels.
Oh, wow.
And I really appreciate what Shawn said at the Cauliflower Alley Club a year or so ago. I don't know, that one of the top 3 matches that he's ever seen in the wrestling business was Scott Casey and Eddy Mansfield, hair versus hair in San Antonio. And I've always, you know, thought of the world of you know, Shawn, mm-hmm. and the way he worked and the way he got over. And because, you know, when you're a certain size guy, you got to work a certain way and you got to get yourself over. And the way I got myself over, not only could I talk on the mic, but I was good in the ring. And then when I got my heat, I used to get my heat like a 6'6" guy. Mm-hmm. So they would look at me a little bit different. Oh, I'd get some heat too. And Shawn got to be that way. And Shawn was really good. And Marty Jannetty helped him out a lot too. They were a great tag team together.
Oh, yeah.
And Sean went on to be a single guy like me. I was good in tag teams, but I was better single. And I didn't need a belt. I told Wahoo tried to give me the Southwest Championship. I said, I would not take that belt for all of tea in China. I don't need it. Yeah. I said, plus, I go up on Tuesday to do the book with him, and we'll go over, angles for me and Scotty. And then I put Gino Hernandez and Tully Blanchard together. And where me and Scott could have a top spot at Southwest. Then those two would have a belt, because Tully had to have a belt. He called 10:30 every Tuesday, and to Wahoo, when am I getting the belt? Well, I told him, I said, Wahoo, put him and Gino together and make them the tag champions, and then you and Ivan and you and Tiger, you and Chavo, you can work with all these guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. So boom, and then that leaves my spot with me and Casey. And so, well, that's what they did, and so Scott and me popped the roof off that sucker. And so I was very blessed to have a guy like Scott. He looked like the Marlboro Man back then. And Scott's a dear, dear, dear friend of mine to this day. Oh, and yeah, he's a real good guy you ought to have on.
Definitely. I'd love to do that.
But when you go back to, I was up in St. Louis, tagging with Bam Bam Gordy. We go with Larry Matizak, and do, Macho Man was there. We had a good crew up there. We just fly in. I think Buck Robley was booking, but we would just fly in. That's what we wasn't working the whole territory there. We just fly in and do St. Louis at the Checker Dome or Kiel,
Yeah, that was just one city that was the whole territory, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's the only one that meant anything. So why waste your time going anywhere else?
Yeah. Oh, wow. So you must have got up some flying miles traveling.
Oh, man. Like that. Yes, I had a lot. Then plus I do Detroit once a month, and then I do Toronto at Maple Leafs Gardens, and so, I went to work every month in Detroit for a couple of 3 years. I was there every month. And for the Sheik, man, that's my buddy. Yeah, Eddie Farhat. I loved him to death. He was the coolest guy. Man, he was something else. And I could tell you some good stories. And I'll never forget one time, he had all the blade marks on his head, right? And so, So Sheik picks me up at the airport, and we go in a limo. He had a limo with a driver. And so we go to this plastic surgeon in Detroit. And so we go and the Sheik says, "Hey, look, I want to get my head sanded where it looks good, where it don't look so bad." You know what I mean? And I'll never forget this surgeon. The plastic surgeon looked and measured, and he says, "Well," he said, "that's all the way down to the bone, And he said, "What I can do is I can sand it down, but your forehead's going to look like a ski slope, right?" and Sheik looked at me and he said, "Eddie, time to go. No ski slope for me. See you later, Doc." And he fucking left. It was funny. It was just like really, really funny. And because, the Sheik hardly ever broke kayfabe. You know what I mean? It's like, he would never talk to you in English. If he was out, he would talk to me in English and nothing. But if other people were around, no, he wouldn't even. Boom. He'd scare him to death. And so, but I had a lot of fun with him, and he was always good to me. His wife Joyce was just wonderful, and she passed away not too long ago, and it's just a sad, sad time when you lose people like that in the business. And the Sheik was hardcore, before there ever was hardcore. He invented hardcore. He was the man. Let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. Trained Sabu, and he was another one.
Oh yeah, well, he trained Rob Van Dam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Rob Van Dam worked for me with the IWF.
Uh-huh.
He was my first television champion.
Now, how long did you run that?
Oh, about 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And it was just bleeding money, man. Because well, every federation in the early '90s were bleeding because you couldn't draw, just no matter what you did, you know. And what saved us is I got a lot of boat shows, you know, from the fairs and all this stuff that really helped. And we would go in, you know, Blackjack Mulligan was my world champion, and so I had some good guys, Dickie Slater, and you know Valentine came in and out, and but my main guys were like I created what you know as the Smoking Guns. They were the long riders for me. Kip Winchester, Brett Colt, and then I had Thunder and Lightning. I had Nasty Organization, Nasty Ronnie, and the Possessor, and the Stomper, who his name is Neil Stewart. He went on to I got him a part in Cop and a Half in Tampa with Burt Reynolds, and then Henry Winkler offered him a deal to come to L.A. And he came back, and I had my offices at Universal, and he asked me, he goes, "Hey Ed, they just offered me to go. Henry Winkler wants me to come to L.A." I said, "You better go pack your bags." And I said, "I'm gonna miss you, but hey, he started in the Jesse Ventura movie. Then he's done over 47 movies. He's done more than that now, but then it was like up to 47, and then he did all the Mountain Dew commercials with the guy Chang guy, whatever his name is, you know, and but his son Boo Boo Stewart was a star in Twilight.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's a small world, and so, but he was always such a good guy, and you know, when I first started creating all these guys, I created them from scratch, and I put them all together. And let me tell you something; those guys worked hard, and I'm so proud of them to this day that they did such a good job. And I wish we could have kept it going a lot longer. You know, I had great partners and like Lucky Luciano and guys like that. They were just wonderful people. And Universal treated us like kings. We were the only wrestling federation, and I'm the only guy to ever have a production deal with Universal for professional wrestling.
Wow.
And I had carte blanche. In the park, we used to do vignettes, you know, like I'd have Chubby MC with the Blues Brothers. I'd have Nasty Ronnie with Beetlejuice. I'd have Rob Van Dam with Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd have like Thunder and Lightning with you know, Hardy Boys. You know what I mean? What was the three of them? It was three guys. They were funnier than Stitch. But anyway, all the characters out of there, and plus on my shows, you ever heard of a guy by the name of Wayne Brady?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, he was doing the Frankenstein. So he'd come out and do a gig with us, you know, and so he was in a bunch of the shows. Wayne was, and he's got a what is it? The Price is Right, or not The Price is Right? It's Let's Make a Deal. He does Let's Make a Deal. Wayne's one of the nicest guys in the whole wide world. Yeah. And he used to come over and do that, and would shoot that on that Bride of Frankenstein stage. You know, it was really cool. So I had all the backlot. You know, when I had the Long Riders, I had them on horseback with Blackjack Mulligan. I did skits with Blackjack Mulligan and Mae West, and it's like it's really cool. It's something different, and I tried to turn that in, and I haven't released those tapes. So they've never been released, and I'm putting them together right now to release them, and because we got some great shows, great angles. You know, I had Blackjack Mulligan dress up like a woman, come out of the stands. You know, I mean, it's some good stuff, man.
Wow.
It's really it's good stuff. And
well, there's a lot
I'm
of
proud
market
of
for
it.
that now. There's a big market for the older stuff now. People are discovering again, and I love watching that kind of thing, and it's just seeing it again.
Well, when you see all the different angles we did and all this other stuff, and I'm one of the only guys in the history of wrestling to ever hire a manager that can't talk. So I did it just ass backwards, you know. So his name was Champagne Kane, right? And I had remember Tim Parker?
Yes, I remember.
And Big Teal. I put them together, and I named them after one of my favorite groups. You know, Tom Petty. I loved because you know Greg Allman was a buddy of mine, and so I named the Heartbreakers. You know, the Heartbreakers after a Tom Petty band, right? And so anyway, if you stick a microphone in Champagne Kane's face, he could talk. But any other time, he could just talk or blue streak. You know, you couldn't shut him up, right? But as soon as he get in front of that camera, he would freeze. And so Teal and Parker would do the talking. And so I said, well, I'm going to fix this little butt up. You know, it's like, so we came up, they were wrestling, the Heartbreakers were wrestling Thunder and Lightning. And one of the guys, Jeff Farmer, was the bogus Sting. So that's who you'll know. Remember the guy who looked like Sting? Yeah, that was Jeff, right. That was one of my guys. And so I had them pick old Kane up, you know, press slam him and throw him over the top rope all the way to the floor. And it was all concrete, right?
Oh.
And Tilly and Parker was supposed to catch him and they dropped him. And so when I got to the back, I was doing a play-by-play with Kevin Kelly, you know, and so, I trained Kevin Kelly to be a play-by-play guy, you know, standing by the ring and calling the spots at the training facility. So anyway, he did a great job. He turned out really wonderful, and so we kind of had a little break in action. So I went in the back. I said, "Hey, Kane, how you feeling?" "Oh, man, they dropped me." I said, "Well, that's probably because you don't ever talk. You make them do all the work." You know, and so I just laughed at him and went on about my business. But you know, when you think of stuff like that, it's funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. I love those kind of stories. Those were the interesting days.
Yeah. And
man. Now you seem to be doing more of a theatrical type stuff, like the with the promos and the guys on horseback and stuff. Wrestling seems to be doing that these days, you know?
Yeah, I did. I was the first guy to ever come from a theme park, and I had the whole theme park. I had guys, my Dynamite Express coming from Back to the Future, you know, the Bad Boys coming from, I can't remember where they came from. But anyway, you know, I had the lagoon, I had boats, I had everything, you know, it was just a wonderful thing. And Universal treated me just like a king, and all my guys, every one of my guys, let me tell you something. They treasured Universal. They appreciated Universal, and none of them misbehaved. Not one of my guys ever got in trouble. I never had anybody ever come to me from Universal and say, any of your guys were out of line. Because I laid the law down, told them. I said, look, if you screw up out here, they're going to kick you off the lot, and you won't be back.
Oh yeah.
Unlike WCW, you know, they couldn't control them over at Disney because Disney called me. Tom called me from Disney and said, "Hey, look, should I let WCW in?" I said, "Hey, man, let them in. That's fine. I don't care. I'm at Universal."
Yeah.
You know, I could care less. That was with Eric Bischoff. You know,
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
So when they came in, and gave Hulk a parade and, bought him a Viper and all this other crap, which is good. That's fine. I'm happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
But that had nothing to do with me. He tried to call me and get in the Universal. And I told him, look, Eric, unless you got a whole bunch of money you want to spend, you're not coming in here.
No.
And I hung up on him. He's the only guy I know that broke Ted Turner.
Oh yeah, that was a situation they did there with Atlanta. Man,
what he did is a crying shame to the business.
Yeah. Just
he let them guys run the show instead of it's called show business. Without the business, there's no show, and he really didn't have a background for that.
Well, he was just a ring announcer up north, right?
Yeah, that's it. A third one at that. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not knocking the guys, just the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And, he kind of fudged his resume and he got the gig.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was it ruined WCW. It killed it.
Well, it's my friend that's a booker. He says it's show business, not show friends.
Exactly.
And he was letting everybody else basically run their own bookings and say what they could do and all that. And that was a tough situation. You can't be profitable that way.
You never will in any business. It doesn't matter whether it's a wrestling business or Little League baseball. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. You got to run it as a business where you have the money to buy the uniforms and the baseballs and the bats and stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta look at it that way and make sure, you're selling plenty of hot dogs and drinks and stuff for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I look at things and it's like I said before, I said, they probably did me a favor, get me out of the business where I'm still living today.
Yeah.
And something, Myron, I don't have any regrets. I'm not bitter. I'm not anything. You know why? Because when you're a winner, you don't let things bother you. You go win the game. If you got to change course to win, just change course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What did Satchel Paige always say? Never look behind you. You don't ever know who's going to be gaining on you.
Yeah. Wow.
Just don't look behind. The past is the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't dwell on that. You must dwell on the future and say, okay, I'm going to be the best possible guy I can be. I'm going to be the best possible husband I can be. And I'm going to be the best damn producer I can be.
Mm-hmm. And you've been very successful producing, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've done almost 1,000 hours of television.
Wow.
And I'm getting ready to do, like I said, 2 more series here shortly.
Uh-huh.
I'm prepping. I'm in pre-production right now, and I'm just waiting for the green flag to drop. Where they let me out. It's like, so because we're all ready to go, and we'll do that one and then follow it up with another one, and then I'll get Mouthing Off up and running, and at the same time, all this is going on. So it's a good thing. It's I look forward to I'll get you on Mouthing Off.
Oh.
And let you talk about
the
business and what it means to you.
Okay.
And I'll reciprocate the favor.
Well, thank you,
and
sir.
So,
I appreciate that.
But that's what you do.
Yep. That's always helped us out. And we're not wrestlers. We're just guys that have been lifetime fans, but we've learned that in the wrestling business, if you're nice to people and you're consistently around them and nice, eventually they'll recognize that and be nice to you back, and more than you ever were nice to them. And that's kind of the way the world works.
Yeah. And, it's there's a lot of good guys in professional wrestling, and a lot of good ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I just want to see them get their comeuppance. Mm-hmm. I want to see them to be able to health care and a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always said, you know, when you have a family, say a diva is wrestling for 3 years and then she has a husband and all of a sudden they want to have a child and she gets pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who pays for that?
Yeah.
They, you know, most companies have things that like health care that covers a baby being born
Mm-hmm.
and the hospital stay, but not professional wrestling.
No, and I'm in a similar with pharmacy is not just like wrestling, but it's the point where if you look at what I do, if I'm a full-time employee, I get benefits. Now I can't go work for a different chain. Like they can't go wrestle for somebody else.
Right.
But because I can't do that, they give me something in return to compensate for it.
And that's what I'm saying about the wrestling business. And I believe that, you know, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and, you know, as a person who's in the business world like yourself and me, I mean, I look at Cody and the Bucks business acumen, and you got to take your hat off to them. I mean, they've done a wonderful job putting this together with Tony Khan, and if anybody gives them benefits, it may be these guys.
I hope they can do that. I really do.
Well, that'll put them on the map, man. Let me tell you something. Whatever company does that for the guys and the girls, they'll be forever, ever known for taking care of their people, not just using them.
Oh, yeah. And it's so weird that a business has such a primitive business model in 2020. How they're still doing the same thing they did in the 40s.
Well, yeah, you're right. And they say, well, Eddy Mansfield, why do you bring this kind of stuff up? Well, because it hasn't changed since the 80s.
No.
It's actually gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that the Rockers sell $1 million a quarter, and they I'm sure Shawn Michaels made more than Marty, but I can tell you one thing: Marty Jannetty makes less than pennies on a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a guy bringing in $1 million, and that's all you're going to pay the guy.
Yeah.
And he hadn't even wrestled in how long for them?
Oh, God knows.
See what I mean? I mean, that's okay. What does he have to look forward to in his future? Nothing but a broken down body.
Mm-hmm. He's out there hustling at autograph signings and going to where he can and just trying to do whatever he can to put a living together.
Yeah. Marty told me, he says his ankle was bothering him so much he had to get a crutch. Yes,
I've seen him on a crutch in the last year.
I mean, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really, really sad.
And so many of the guys are broke down. You talked about Kamala, and you go to these shows. I love going to autograph signings and conventions, and you see these guys. You see Magnum TA riding around on his device there. He rides. You see guys that are, you know, that went out and did everything for us, and they don't have the ability to take care of themselves.
Right. And Terry Allen's probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's Magnum, you know, and he's one of the nicest human beings. He really is. And, you know, I think he married Tully Blanchard's wife and raised his kids.
Yes.
And Tully is not one of my favorite people.
Well, you know, from what I read and hear, a lot of people have the same opinion. And Southwest was his dad's promotion, right?
Yeah, but he killed it.
Oh.
Tully Blanchard killed it for his father.
Had to be on top.
Well, he couldn't draw 2 knobs of goat shit. And I'm just being truthful to you. And Southwest Championship Wrestling, he couldn't draw. He couldn't get over. He just never got over. And me and Casey got over like a big dog.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did he have to have main event money every night, even though he wasn't in the main event. And he disrespected Paul Bosch. Paul Bosch wanted to sit down and talk to him and have him. It's in Paul Bosch's book. Read it. And but Paul said that Tully Blanchard wouldn't even come meet with him to talk about business.
Oh.
And Paul Bosch is one of the greatest promoters besides Sam Muchnick.
Yeah.
There ever was.
Paul was really respected. I mean, from everything I've read, he was respected by everyone.
Oh, let me tell you, I made a lot of money with him. I mean, my pockets were full every Friday night. and he was a great payoff man, and you know, he loved the business. Had them big old cauliflower ears, and you know, he was a war hero, and so, you know, Paul Bosch was a good man, and for him to disrespect him like that, you know, that's when Paul pulled away from him.
Yeah, and
you know, and then, you know, Southwest Championship Wrestling, you know, you had what's the guy? Fred Behrens. You remember that name? Fred Behrens?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
well, he was a cocaine dealer.
Oh.
And Southwest Championship Wrestling was the time we bought on USA Network, remember? And that was all with coke money. He was a cocaine dealer. He died in jail.
Ooh. And
so I'm giving you some scoops that a lot of people don't know.
I've heard of them. Yeah, wow. And so I've heard about Gino, and I've heard about, you know, the Von Erichs and the problems that were had out there with substance abuse, but I didn't know that was that prevalent. Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, it was down in Southwest. That whole territory was run on cocaine money.
Well, that was.
And you know something, I just want to say something. Joe Blanchard was one of the nicest men that I ever worked for. It's just too bad his son is just no good.
Well, yeah. Well.
And you know, it's just sad. And maybe as he's gotten older, I know Tully lives in his father's house now, but I just hope that he can look back and see the mistakes. He can never have another conversation with his father, you know, or his mother or his brother. They're all dead. And you know, I know when my mother passed away, some days I'm having a rough day, you know, in business or whatever. I would give $1 million to be able to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Mom, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
What's your gut feeling?" And you just can't ever get that back. And I know all your fans and all your listeners, they have the same thing. You just think of all the listeners right now. You look around at your family, whether it's your wife or your husband and your children, and you have no health care. But and then you look at wrestlers and they're big stars and they have no health care. I mean, what would you think? I mean, if you're working a job, you got health care.
Yeah.
So they have more than a star wrestler has. In fact, more.
You know,
and they can say all they want. Oh, they got the money to pay for it. Let me tell you something. When you get in your 40s and your 50s and you can't do this anymore, who's going to pay for it then? When you can't get out, when you can't get up and down. And let me tell you something. It's not about all the money you make. It's all about the money you got to spend to live.
Insurance is expensive. It's ungodly expensive when you have to purchase it yourself.
And it's like I told you before about there's two. If you're on national TV, you qualify. And then if you took a bump or you took a suplex in a ring or whatever, you qualify under the Stuntman Association.
Screen Actors Guild. You know, why aren't they in this? Because I hear the Screen Actors Guild takes very good care of their members.
Oh my goodness. They even have a home for the wrestlers. Hey, if they were in SAG, they have homes when they get old and decrepit. You have a place to go. Right now, where you got to go? Take a bunch of pills and OD?
Yeah. But that's the truth. You're 100% right. There isn't anything out there.
No, and we could have saved a lot of these guys that are dead today if we'd had health care.
Mm-hmm.
They could have gone and got fixed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's
simple. It's a simple fix. I don't know what the damn problem is.
It would cost them money. That's the only thing I can figure out.
Well, if you got if these guys are making you $1 billion just off of Fox, wouldn't you think you got enough money to handle that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh, definitely. And it's the people that make them the money that don't get the health care.
Yeah, and that's I've been preaching that since 2020, mm-hmm. and it's like it's time for the wrestling fans to rise up and support the guys. You mm-hmm. support all your people that you cheer for and you boo. Mm-hmm. Just remember, they're not lucky as you are. Mm-hmm. They're not lucky as you are that you got health care, mm-hmm. that you can take care of your friends. Mm-hmm. Your kids.
Yeah.
They can't do that.
No.
So, there's got to be a way that this can be done very simply. With a privately owned company, a publicly owned company, they should be made to do it.
Well, it's amazing how especially with that last healthcare law, how they get away with it. And they're not forced to put these guys on insurance. It's that independent contractor thing. If they were legitimately sued, I don't think it would hold up in court at all.
No, it wouldn't.
It's crazy.
What they do is they stack the deck, though. If you got a wrestler, he's only got so much, money. It would take like a Tony Khan. It's got hundreds of millions of dollars to fight a guy like that.
Yeah.
Because what Vince will do, he's got these lawyers on retainer. He'll just break the guys,
mm-hmm. And then we're
in court. Well, what they do is they just keep pushing paper until they break the guys. They've already broken the guys down physically
mm-hmm.
from taking bumps. You're going to just might as well shoot the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like. Because when you get in your 40s and your 50s, you will feel it.
Oh, trust me, I'm pushing 50, and I've never done any wrestling, but I'm feeling it myself. I can't imagine what taking bumps would be like.
Well, I can tell you one thing: every morning I feel it when I get up, because I was a bump guy, and it's like I can tell you what, I feel it every day. And but I think that we can put a positive spin on this thing, Myron, and with the fans listening, cheer your people on, but also know that you need to be cheering in the background saying, hey, you need to get some health benefits.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to do this forever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, I really hope we can use this as some kind of vehicle to draw attention to the situation.
Well, I hope so. And that things will be done more in a business-like manner, mm-hmm. Instead of just how much money I'm making off of your back.
Yeah.
And let's take care of that back where you're mm-hmm. able to have, as you get older, where you're not decrepit.
Yeah.
That's what I hope for. And I'm, I don't care if I'm a cause of it or somebody else steps in and does it. Just do it.
Yeah, somebody has to.
I don't need a pat on the back. I want to see the guys taken care of like a professional athlete should be.
Oh,
just like the NFL, NBA, mm-hmm. NHL, all those that are taken care of.
Well, they all have unions. So
well, I don't know if the unions answer or SAG. SAG's a union, but it has a lot of good benefits for you.
Yeah,
and they need it. And Georgia. there's a lot of unions. It's in Georgia,
Yeah.
with all the filming in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
And, SAG's one of them.
Mm-hmm. And I tell people, these people sacrifice so much for our entertainment. They go out there and risk their lives every time they get in that ring. And they have no, most of the guys working the indie circuits, if they get hurt, they're just hurt. They don't have.
That's it. Right.
They don't have something. And with wrestling being so, sometimes it's carny, sometimes it's professional business, and it slips through the gaps. But man, it's sad. It's just sad. You especially talk about Kamala and Jannetty and some of those other guys that are just suffering. It's horrible.
That's only two.
Yeah. And all the concussion guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's wrestling's going to be okay, because I think these young guys are going to stand up and get what's they deserve, and that's benefits and a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least. That's the least that they deserve. They're putting butts in seats, and they need to. They just need to be compensated for that. Not only monetarily, but every which way.
Yeah, like any other business.
Absolutely, and that's what's been wrong with the wrestling business the whole time. Mm-hmm. It's never taken care of the guys who's made it the money.
Yeah, and even like that thing with Stossel, he monopolized that for himself, and wasn't even concerned about what the real business was. He just wanted to. And
it became an ego show for John Stossel, for him to get $280,000.
Yeah.
Well, I got slapped harder than that for nothing. I mean, please.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, 280, and he admitted it.
Yeah. We said most of his damage went away after the $280,000 came in.
Well, that kind of tells you the truth there, doesn't it?
Oh boy, I really have appreciated talking to you today, and I really.
Well, thanks, Myron. Thank you for having me.
I hope this works. I hope the guys can get some attention, and I hope they can get some insurance. Thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate the stories, and it's been so much fun talking to you.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here, and keep up the good work. And anytime you need me, just call me.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mansfield. You have a lovely day, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
You too. Bye-bye.